Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode. I am very excited. I've had a sequence of incredible guest speakers, and today's speaker is also amazing. So you're welcome. I'm just very excited that you guys will get to meet. Could I call you Jacqueline or Jack?
I go by Jack and Jacqueline equally, whatever you prefer.
Okay, Jack Fisch, who is fellow Canadian. However, she crossed the border. She lives in the States in a very warm state, if I remember
Yes.
correctly. She is the founder and the creator of the Intuitive Writing School. And Jacqueline and I worked together a while back. She was my writing coach. She is a writer by heart. And she will, in my opinion, she will inspire anyone to write. That's how I feel. I mean, I do love writing. I would imagine that's why it was easy for me to have somebody like Jack in my life. But every time I read your emails, every time I see the work you're doing, Jacqueline, I always feel like, okay, even if you're not a writer, I can see how you would turn them into writers or to love the writing that they have to do. So she's written several books. I'll let her introduce herself a little bit more. But the reason I invited her into the podcast is because she's going to come into my CEO group to coach them into rewriting their story, the narrative. And we're going to use, it's going to be like a workshop style to rewrite our stories. I'll tell you more about that and why I coach my clients to do this in a moment. And honestly, her and I have no idea what we're going to be talking to you today about, but probably around writing your story, rewriting your story, the power behind that. Maybe even journaling and any other wisdom that Jack, as a writing coach, wants to share with us, we will talk about. So welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy you're here. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit more? Do a better job than I did, Jacqueline, please.
Absolutely. Thank you. I was going to say, Olga, that is one of the best intros and so kind that I don't know how I can follow that. You're like, introduce yourself better. Like, I don't know if I could do better than that. But of course, you're attracting amazing guests because you are amazing and we attract the energy we put out. So, which also comes through in our words. And that's the realm that I work in. Mm-hmm. So to skim past some of the things you mentioned, yes, former Canadian, grew up in the Toronto area. I married an American, so I've been in the States for a long time. And yes, I'm in sunny Florida, and I don't know how I spent my lifetime living in the cold. Because other than Toronto, I lived in Chicago, Indiana, New York, New Jersey. I've only ever known that weather, and I've always wanted to live here, and it finally became reality a couple of years ago.
That's amazing. You're living the dream.
Oh, yes. I love it. So a little bit about how I came to be a writer. I wasn't one of those kids who knew I wanted to be a writer. Yes, I was absolutely creative. I actually wanted to be a fashion designer when I grew up. I was always drawing, painting, designing stuff, and I enjoyed writing. I was good at it. It was like English class was my easy class, where a teacher would ask, write 500 words on this topic. I'm like, oh, this is so easy. I can just this is an easy A. And never thought about writing. Didn't go to fashion school though. I talked myself out of it. I thought it would be too hard to get a job. Literally no adults in my life talked me out of it. This was all me. Wound up in business school, ended up in management consulting, corporate communications, crisis communications, and fast forward through 3 layoffs in 5 years. Oh. I knew after the first one that job security was a myth. And I knew I had to do something different. And so I have 2 kids. And when I returned, this was before layoff one, before I returned, or after I returned to work, after having my son, I remember sitting in a boardroom meeting with a bunch of old guys talking about, I don't know, something boring. I was like, why am I here? This can't be all there is. And I didn't know what else there was. The layoff nudged me in a direction. I actually moved back to Canada because we had our son at this point. We're like, let's live near family. That's a great idea. I worked for BlackBerry up there. So you can probably guess how that went.
Yep.
If you have Canadian listeners. Went back to the States. But by this time I had started expanding my creativity. And in 2012, I started exploring a plant-based diet after transitioning my son off of dairy because he was having like a whole lot of health problems.
Yeah.
And that led me to a plant-based diet. And I started writing about it. I wanted to teach people what I was learning and share the recipes. As someone who worked full-time, was a full-time working mom, soon to be 2 kids. And I didn't want to just like throw veggie burgers in the microwave and call it dinner every day.
Right. Yeah.
So I was interested in really natural, as little processing as possible, but quick and effective cooking. So I started writing about it. And then I was really enjoying the writing piece, but it didn't quite become clear yet. And I had gone back to eating meat again, and then back plant-based now. But when I started eating meat again, the point of the blog kind of lost its appeal. And I was also teaching cooking classes. So my thing at the time was batch cooking. So how to cook a whole bunch of healthy food on the weekends so you can eat healthy all week long, which later would turn into batch writing, which is how I coach business.
I was going to say, I find the theme here, the pattern.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. Had I have not followed that inkling to start creating recipes and sharing a blog, I don't know if I would have ended up where I was today. So definitely realized it was the writing I was enjoying. There was a few more layoffs in there. And after layoff 2, you know what's happening. You know when you're going to get laid off. You see the signs, you know when it's coming. So I started preparing. I had this growing side business. At first it was food, where I was teaching classes and designing meal plans for people. And when the food part fell away, I realized it was the writing of the blogs I was enjoying and the connecting. And there was all these aha moments that I had in the corporate world, where I would work on proposals selling millions of dollars of work. And that was my favorite stuff to do. People would want help with their LinkedIn bios. They needed me to edit blogs. Like I was like, yes, I put everything else aside so I could do that stuff. Like taking a piece of draft writing and taking it the rest of the way so that it's easy to understand and connects. My favorite thing in the world. I was like, how can I do more of this? And I was at another corporate consulting job at the time, and I told my then manager that I wanted to do more writing. So he said, great, why don't you sell that work? Like for us, the consulting company. I was like, if I do this for you, I'm going to earn a fraction of what my clients are paying. So how about I just go do this on my own? Mm-hmm. And at this point, I was living in Chicago, commuting 3 hours a day, 2 small kids. Like there was barely time for life at all. So I knew something had to change. And I started growing my writing business on the side. I started as a done-for-you copywriter, writing copy for anyone who needed it. So copy is for websites, emails. I was working with small businesses, tech, whoever would hire me. And I did that until I had enough momentum that I could go full-time in that business. Our household wasn't ready for me to just quit my job and figure it out.
Right.
That's
a process.
Yeah. That's definitely brave. There are people who do that, and I don't know if I have the guts for that. But knowing what I wanted so badly was to work at home, work from wherever I can have a Wi-Fi connection, which has allowed me to move and freely travel. Mm-hmm. That became so urgent to me. And having a taste of that really fueled me so that I could make that happen. So I probably grew my business on the side for about 1.5 years until I had enough momentum. And I went full-time in 2017 and never looked back.
Never looked back. Wow. That's amazing. After working with you, this is the first time I get to hear your story. and I love it.
Thank you.
So now there is the writing school, the intuitive writing school, which, so obviously for anybody listening who's not a business owner, this is my perception, Jack, you can come and tell me
Yes.
otherwise, but you begin your business thinking this is what I'm going to do. And as you start doing it, like with anything else, you start noticing what you like, what you don't like, and start like evolving and making changes. Like, when I started my practice, I was doing couples counseling, working with children and youth and just anybody, because I didn't know exactly where I wanted to focus. And now I am so niched down to like, no, I work with women who are overthinkers, who want to achieve at the cost of their own well-being. They are the ones I want to help. And so you went from writing for anybody who needed copy, and that served you well. And now you've got this writing school, intuitive writing school. Intuitive, like that's in the name. So I want to know more about this. How did that come to life?
Just like the journey to quitting my job and starting a writing business, it unfolded over time. So yeah, I went from writing for anyone and everyone. I still do copywriting. And I started to see that my clients who got the best results were the ones who also rolled up their sleeves and provided a lot of information in the process. And they would give me a lot of words. They call it word vomit, which cleaning up word vomit is one of my favorite things to do. I'm like, just give me a pile of words. I will figure out where they all go, which is so much easier than pulling from nothing, like having no words on the page.
Yeah.
So I really discovered that. And that led me to coaching. So coaching people in their writing, I firmly believe that, especially for business owners and really for everyone, they are the best people to tell their story and to share their words and connect in a way that feels authentic to them. So I love taking something that someone has written because it has their voice in it. And I am not the grammar police. I, in fact, don't know most grammar rules. I focus on writing that connects, that has emotion, and does its job. So whatever that job is, convince, tell a story, communicate, connect, whatever that is. So yeah, there's some grammar in there, but it is not, it's not like your 7th grade English teacher. And
whoever traumatized you, it's not like that.
Yeah, no, it's not that. And I see a lot of that from my clients, which led me to go deeper into coaching and creating the intuitive writing school, because a lot of people are afraid to share their writing. They've been told by crappy English teachers that they're not a good writer. I'm even seeing it in my son now, who's in 9th grade. And his teacher started their English class saying, if you get a C in this class, you're lucky. And I see her comments and she just tears everything apart. So she's convincing these kids that they're not great writers. I'm like, you're 14. Does the message tell a story? Does it have a point? I realize that they're looking for something much different. But in the world where our job is to share our stories, speak our truth, and rewrite our stories whenever appropriate, whenever we want to, we get to decide that. The point is to write from your heart. And I think a lot of what traditional school has done is teaches people how to write from their heads. And I see this all the time. People overthink everything. Whether you're a writer or not, most people have to write regardless, even if the most you write is a text message. But you probably send emails, you probably communicate with people and have requests, and maybe you have a story to tell. Like maybe people have a book in them. So the writing school came about because I used to, I don't want to say deny the word intuitive, but it just wasn't on my radar. It wasn't something that was even something I thought about. I was very much in the corporate left-brained get stuff done, wear pants and heels kind of world. And slowly over time, I also started to notice that a lot of the clients that were coming to me were intuitive. They were energy workers, they yoga teachers, life coaches, and they all had some aspect of trusting their gut, following an internal wisdom, internal guidance to be able to do their work. And it's like, why are all these people coming to me? Like, I wasn't specifically marketing to them, and I still don't. It's not necessarily, I mean, yeah, the word intuitive is my business name now, but I don't say like, yes, I only work with light workers, because I think we all have a story to tell.
With the woos.
Yeah. 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 And that's the other thing, because it's not woo. And that, like, I am very mindful to never use that term woo or woo woo, because it is not that. It is intuitive writing is when you show up to the page, and the point is to show up every day. Not every day, like you have to publish something. Right. Every day with a journaling or morning pages practice, which I'll come back to, morning pages. And quieting your brain. So the effort is in turning your brain off and letting your body do the work. Let the words come to you. No judging, no forcing, no editing. And when I'm drafting anything, whether it's for my books or a blog post or a website page, I don't look at the screen, because I'll see all the red underlines indicating all my typos and incorrect words. I write as fast as I can, no thinking, and then I put it aside and come back to it. And that's the process I teach. I also teach people, when they're writing, to follow nature's rhythms, whether they're females who have a menstrual cycle or following the moon. So the moon has a consistent 29 and a half day cycle, just like the seasons, and each moon phase mirrors a season. Like winter is like the new moon, and summer is like the full moon. And there's different kinds of writing we can do, or editing, that feels more natural during those times. Like the new moon, for instance, is winter. Think of what happens in the winter. It's cold, it's dark, we're inside. So we're not publishing books. We're not out there speaking on a stage. I mean, we might, because that's the nature of of life. But if you have a choice, you can start to align your writing with what's those phases are. So where else do I want to go with the
Hold on, tell me more. Winter is a new moon.
Yes.
Fall is what?
So I'll go through all the phases. So from the new moon, the lights start, there's no light in the sky. So we look inward for our light. So this is a really great time to do some journaling, make decisions, intuitive downloads, ideas might come to us. And it's not time to take action during this phase. And then after the new moon, the light starts growing in the sky. We have the waxing moon. It's getting bigger, like visibly. So our energy is growing, and this has similar energetic qualities to spring. So during springtime, what do we see? Plants starting to sprout out. Things are starting to show. Like the seeds we planted in the dark in the winter are starting to come together. So this is when I suggest people do a lot of rough drafts. Just write as fast as you can during this phase. Like, don't take time to edit. Start planning, whatever it is you're planning. Planning a writing project, a work project, a vacation. Do all the planning during this time. And then full moon summer, great time to be visible out there. We want to connect. We want to talk to people. We want to be in the sun. It's bright, like the moon is bright, and there's a lot of light shining on something. So for business owners, I often suggest, if they're launching something, launching it just before the full moon as the light is growing. Like imagine you get this free spotlight on whatever it is you're creating, using it that way.
Oh my God, where are we on right now?
Right now we're recording. There was a new moon on January 21st. And it was actually the first new moon of 2023. So society kind of has it all backwards, that January 1st is like New Year and time to go, go, go. Most people don't feel that on January 1. If you do, that's also why people tend to burn out. That's why gyms are full the first week of January, and by February, they are empty.
They're empty, yeah.
Yeah. So the first new moon of the year, you can look at it like the new year. So that's where we're at this moment. So let's see. I want to make sure I cover the fourth phase. And that's the waning moon. So after the full moon, it starts to shrink in the sky. The light is getting smaller. This is the energy of fall. So think harvesting everything that you've been growing. Think of a squirrel gathering all its nuts and getting ready to prepare, nesting, getting ready to go into hibernation. So this is a really great time to focus and complete things. If you're writing, this is when I suggest most people do their editing, because you'll have a better attention to detail during this time. So I totally align all my writing to this as much as possible.
And so what kind of moon was that? Sorry?
The waning moon.
Okay.
Yep. So waning is when it's getting smaller.
Yeah.
So this is something I integrate into the writing school community. I let everyone know what's going on. And the main thing we do in the community is write together. So we do workshops and I provide templates for writing, but twice a week for at least 2 hours a week, we gather on Zoom, we declare what we're working on, and then we jump in and write. And there is some kind of magic when you have a bunch of people together who are focused on doing something that they've committed to. And it's really interesting to see the unfolding in there of people who have come in to initially write for their business, and now they're writing books, they're writing fiction, they're writing memoirs. And these are people who didn't even know that they had a book in them. So it's really cool. It's definitely a lot of people's favorite time of the week to get their writing done, because there's 2 hours blocked on your calendar. And it's like, yep, this is when we're going to do it. And I also teach to take that relaxed, grounded, calm approach to writing. I truly believe that everyone has a story to tell. You absolutely don't need to be a writer to tell it. The words are yours. When you get into writing books to share your story, that's what editors are for. Editors love taking a pile of words and making it better. So trusting yourself to share what needs to be shared, because we connect through stories. That's how we learn. That's how we take action. We see other stories as metaphors for our own lives. Like we see someone else's success story or how they came through a traumatic experience. And if we're in it, that gives us hope. And we're like, yeah, I can come through the other side. I can do what they did too.
Yeah, I believe full heart telling the story is healing to the person telling it, and without you knowing it, you're healing other people, because either you're giving them hope or an idea they've never had, or something you're manifesting in the physical world, the possibility. You know, for that other person, like, it happened to her. On Saturday, actually, I'm going to be sharing my fertility story to a group of women who are attending the fertility clinic here locally. And every time I think about it, I'm like, but I already have a son. Why would I tell this story? Like, they will hate me that I'm telling them the story. And then I think about it. I think about my own journey, 5 years trying to get my son, and the hope and the excitement that I had every time a woman shared their story and they had a successful pregnancy or successful becoming of a mom. And that's what brings me back to, like, no, it's never you've done enough of it. You know, you have to tell the story. I want to switch gears here for a little bit. I absolutely love this moon writing because obviously I write a lot. Yes. For my business. But let's switch it to journaling. And like you said, you will come back to morning pages. I know what morning pages is because I've worked with you and I've been following you for a while. And it's interesting because I journal at night. It's very peaceful for me to journal at night.
Yeah.
I don't do it in the morning. I have a different morning routine. So I want to know, like, why don't you tell us about morning pages, and let's just switch to journaling and maybe how we integrate that as well to the phases of the moon. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't thought about it as it relates to the moon, but I
Okay.
will play with that. So I love that you journal at night. I think journaling in general is meditation for a lot of people. It's a place to work stuff out. So the term morning pages, it was coined by author Julia Cameron in the book The Artist's Way. Great book. It's a 12-week creative journey. Even people who wouldn't call themselves, quote, creative, it is for them. It is truly a book for everyone.
Yeah.
And there are a few creative practices she recommends. The main one is morning pages. So morning pages are 3, like 8 by 10 or 8.5 by 11, whatever the full size is. I always forget. Pages of stream of consciousness, no filtering, no editing, like pure, just get it out of your head onto the page. Writing that happens first thing in the morning. So the intention of doing it in the morning, usually as soon as you get up, it's before your ego has come online. It's before your day starts to take over. It's a practice that you'll start to notice trends that come up, and you'll start to see things that might come up for healing. It's also a place to process your healing as you're going through things. And it's a place for whatever you want. No one's going to read these. I don't reread my morning pages. Actually, so here's how the moon comes into play. Around the full moon is a good time to release things. I like to burn my notebooks.
Yay!
Throw them in the fire.
I don't know anything about the moon, but I highly recommend that practice.
Yeah, because think about all the energy that's going into there.
Exactly.
So, yes, you might be complaining, outpouring, just releasing. We don't need to keep that energy around.
Heck no.
No, it is a place to move stuff through us. It's definitely a practice that you'll see the benefits in after doing it consistently for 3 months. And for me personally, I don't aim for every day. I aim for 5 days a week. And I don't always use an 8 by 10 notebook. If I'm traveling, like, you can do it on a tablet. Definitely recommend pen to paper because it forces your brain to slow down a little bit and think about what it is you're writing. But you can use like those cheap notebooks from the school supply section. Or I've also used really nice ones that are like artist notebooks with no lines, and it's like painting paper. Play with whatever feels good to you. And it becomes a habit. So usually what I recommend is if you try morning pages and you stop doing them after a while, if you start to crave it or miss it, I think that's definitely a clue that there's something in there for you. There have been many times where I told myself that I don't have time for morning pages. So when I was writing my first book, Unfussy Life, I thought, I don't have time for morning pages. I'm already writing enough. Turned out I was wrong. For my next book, title to be determined, it's a book all about intuitive writing. I committed to doing morning pages. And what I found was it was a place to put all the brain junk, all the cobwebs, get it out of my head so that when I came to the page to do my work, I was clear. It's like dusting something off, like brushing your teeth in the morning. Like you just want to get the gunk off so that you can feel clean, fresh, and get through your day. The only purpose of morning pages is to get to the other side.
And did she explain the importance of morning? So I guess it's the beginning of your day.
Yes, for a couple of reasons. Your day doesn't have a chance to take over because life is going to life on us. And it's before your ego wakes up and before you're fully awake. So I don't know if you, like, when you first wake up in the morning, you might notice you're kind of in a dreamy state. So it's also a really great time to ask questions. So we can our intuition can be really strong during this time. It's like the bridge between the nighttime and the dream time at night and the morning. So that's one intention for doing it. I also recommend journaling really anytime you want to. So I also I just do a one line every single night. And I have a 5-year line a day journal. And I really like that because I get to go back and quickly see just one line of what was going on that day. And it's usually gratitude focus, because at the end of the day, I want to focus on feel good emotions to set myself up for sleep and for the next day. Like, whereas that processing, yes, if I'm processing something big or a lot, I usually don't know what I think about it until I write about it. But that also depends on how you process information. So me, I process a lot of information internally. And for me, that's writing. A lot of people are external processors. So you might know a lot of people who get to solutions to their problems by talking it out. So that can be another way. If you find yourself stuck at the page and journaling is like just not happening, try taking a talk to text app and just record yourself. And then you can hear what comes up. It might turn into a journaling practice later on, but it's really a great practice for all reasons. Get clear, relationships, life, all kinds of things. It's my favorite.
And your new book, as I will now have a part of it, talks about journaling.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about why did you feel important to talk about the importance of journaling, and then ask people to share their stories, which is what you ask me generously to participate in writing my own story of journaling. Why journal? Like, not only have you given us great examples here, but why was that a factor in your book, in the book that you're writing about intuitive writing?
Great question. It was definitely came from the results I saw when I was writing this book, that by doing morning pages first, I came to the page clear. And it's something I recommend in all my courses and my community. So in my courses, I teach people how to do their website copywriting, or I teach them how to write blogs and emails and social media posts. Whenever they're doing that and whenever they're learning something, I always suggest morning pages so that they can come to the page and write from a clear place, especially for anything that's going to be consumed by others, which most of our reading is, or writing is. Like, your website is consumed by potential clients and customers. Your emails are consumed by a reader, potential client, and same with books, by your reader. And the energy from which we write from is felt. So you as a business owner have probably noticed, say you're sending an email newsletter to your subscribers. If you came to a place where you were like, oh, I have to get this newsletter out. It's Friday, but I'm so tired. I'm so busy. What am I going to say? It's all been said before. And then you force yourself to write from that place. It's going to be felt. And then there may have been times where you were just so fired up or excited or passionate about something, and you're like, I'm going to email about this. You take to the page, your brain is turned off. You're not thinking or trying to conform the message to be something. You're just letting it out and sharing. And you probably found that those kinds of messages were the ones that received the most replies, the most comments, the most like, thank you for saying this. I feel this too. Those kinds of things. And I think as long as we're spending time each day getting quiet, whatever that is for you, meditation, journaling, we can come to the page and let out what needs to come through, instead of forcing something or like trying to make something do something. Like, I need to make this person do what I'm asking them to do, so I'm going to send this email. And like, Like angry typing an email or social media post? Nope.
Don't, please don't.
Don't recommend it.
I actually had a massive respect for another life coach until recently because she started writing so many hate, angry messages and emails. And I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
This energy, not even in my inbox, not in my feed. Like I lost all respect for the moment. I guess she's going through a process of growth, maybe. I don't know, but that's definitely felt. Okay, so let's talk about writing, personal writing, because maybe the majority of the people listening are, maybe they are business owners. And if you are, like, oh, what a great episode to tune into. But if you, because I think as a business owner, you're right, often our focus is at the end result of reading our words and less so about what am I expressing here, right? Like what's in my heart? What do I want to talk about? I would love for our listeners to talk about, like, to bring it personally. And I know for me anyways, many of my clients, when I invite them into journaling, or I am obviously a huge proponent of creating self-awareness of our thoughts. And I personally have found that the most effective way of creating that awareness is not in silence, noticing your thoughts, but writing them. Like when your thoughts are looking back at you and you're like, oh my God, this is what's in my head. It's just impossible to ignore. So I get all of my clients to get into a strong habit of logging thoughts. We're not journaling, we're just logging thoughts, because then it's easier to do the work. When they tell me they feel anxious and I tell them, what were you thinking just before? And they say, I don't know. I'm like, see, logging these thoughts will be helpful, because then we would know what's causing the anxiety. So I find a lot of resistance at times because of, maybe, like you mentioned earlier, they've had like the 10th grade, English teacher who discouraged them from writing. And maybe it's really, truly not their passion or strength. I do recognize it is a passion of mine. I love writing. And so it comes natural to me to want to journal because words is it's like my house of wheels. Like I really love words, speaking, talking, speaking or writing. It's fun for me. But I believe it's so beneficial that even if you're not a words kind of person or a writer, or think of yourself as somebody who enjoys writing, I encourage them to give it a go, only because of the benefit. So let's change gears a bit towards the non-writer, non-journaling human who is listening to us and is thinking, so what's in it for me? Why would I want to journal? How would I even begin? Do you have any tips on how to begin to even experiment with journaling when it's not super painful? Often I find my clients who complain about it, they're like, I just don't know what to write. And I'm like, what do you mean? Any thought? Yep. What's in your head? Just put it down. There's no perfect way to journal. What will you say to that?
Yeah, I love that this is a practice in your work, and I recommend similar practices. So I think perfectionism seeps in here so much. Everyone is like, so many people are trying to get it right. They're trying to do it perfect. Like, if I can't do it right, I'm not going to do it at all. There is no wrong way to journal. Even if when you come to the page, set a timer for like 5 minutes. And sometimes we'll do this in the writing community. I set a timer at the beginning and I'm like, we're going to do 5 minutes and just clear our heads before we begin writing what we're going to write. Play with a timer, 5 minutes, write whatever. Even if you are writing, I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to say. Write that. Because I can almost guarantee that will launch you into something else that's coming up. Random words, they might be nonsensical, whatever is coming up, whether it's just a list of things going on. Writing prompts can also be helpful to explore. If you poke around on my website, I have some writing prompts for different seasons or different times of the year. Having a prompt sometimes can be helpful because it's like, well, I don't know what to write about. So, well, here's one question. I believe this to be true. Fill in the blanks. Today, I hope to feel this. The world would be a better place if whatever. and using those prompts as a launching pad to get going. The other practical thing I suggest to work journaling or morning pages into your life is look at how your day is already scheduled. Because I know people are like, oh, one more thing. I don't have time to do one more thing. And maybe it is when you sit down to drink your morning coffee or tea, that is when you do it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be as soon as you launch out of bed. Taking whatever routines you have in the morning and working it into that. So say you have a quiet moment in the living room before the kids wake up, you enjoy that quiet time and just write down a couple pages and maybe just throw it out as soon as you're done or recycle it. You don't have to do anything with it. While you're waiting for the water to boil, just have a notebook handy, like keep it near your kettle and start writing. I think this is also probably one of the reasons why you recommend it. So many people are moving through life without thinking about their thoughts.
Right.
So I'm doing some learning about this. We have, I might get the numbers wrong, so don't quote me on this, but like roughly 70,000 thoughts a day.
Yep.
90% of them are repetitive and 70% are negative. So that's a lot of stuff up in there. And we're so used to not even looking at them. So we see the results of our thoughts in our lives. Whatever is coming to life in front of us, how our life is unfolding, first began as a thought. And those repeated negative thoughts over time start to create a life experience. So this is why it's important to look at them. It's a much more conscious and intentional way to go through life.
I'm going to write those stats and show them to everybody.
I'll grab the actual stats for you.
And send them to me, please.
Yep.
So this is why I'm so passionate about mindset, because what is your mindset? Is the set of thoughts that you use to see life, to see yourself.
Yeah.
If 70% of the thoughts we've got about ourselves and our life are negative, that induce, despair, hopelessness, a sense of not enoughness, whatever the quality of the thoughts are, will lead you to an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And you're asking for help. Who will be the first person to help you and the best person to help you? Right? The person who makes decisions on the kind of thoughts you have, who's that? You.
Yeah.
But if you're sleepwalking, not aware, I call it sleepwalking.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Or autopilot. You're an autopilot. You just arriving places and you have no idea if there were cars around you, how many red lights you stopped at. you just know that you arrived somewhere. How do you begin to make a change from a place of not awareness? It's impossible. So we feel victims of life. I don't know how this is happening. I don't know why this is happening to me. Not noticing Tony Robbins' famous phrase, life is not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Yes.
But when you think of yourself as the creator, you then have, in my opinion, decision power. So when you look at all your thoughts and you're like, shit, 70% of these thoughts are useless and they don't help me, you get to say, now what? And intentionally start bringing thoughts that actually uplift you, that bring you closer to your purpose, that make you a better parent, a better spouse, better human to our collective. That is why all of my programs are like 90% of the work we do is self-awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. If your thoughts are creating your reality, like we may as well just choose our thoughts.
That's right.
Let's rewrite those negative ones to the ones for how we want it to be and build that habit. So
which
journaling.
Sorry, go ahead.
Journaling is a practice where you can do that too. So yeah. Julia Cameron didn't mention this. This is not her recommendation for morning pages, but this is mine. Because morning pages tend to be like a lot of complaining, whining, negativity. Like it's a place to put them so they're not swirling around in your head. So you can have fewer negative thoughts in your head. I like to end mine on a positive note. So what I do is when I can see that I'm on the last page or the last half a page, I start to work with whatever it is, like if I'm focused on a particular goal, for instance, and writing it as if it is true, because our brain doesn't compute like a negative, like I don't want to work at this job anymore. We hear job. Like the brain doesn't totally support that. So as an example, you might start to say, if you say you have a career or job of your dreams, saying it in present tense as if it's already true. I'm so happy and grateful that I get to go do this work every day. I love the impact I'm having. It feels so good. I love seeing this. And then describe what it is you're seeing, because our brain also works in pictures. So saying like, I love sitting at my big wood desk that overlooks my backyard. I love hearing the sounds of my kids giggling in the other room. Whatever it is that's going on, paint the picture with sights, sounds, smells. I love smelling the brownies baking in the oven. And as if it's happening now, and with the emotions that you want to feel. I feel so expansive, abundant, aligned, empowered, and ending it with that. And then usually my few closing lines are thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And finishing it with that.
It's so funny. I say it funny because I always say thank you, thank you, thank you 3 times.
We like that rhythm of 3. And that's something we use in writing a lot too. Like 3 is a rhythm that our brain appreciates. Like I have 3 things to tell you today. Whereas if I was like, I have 7 things to tell you, you'd be like,
No.
oh,
You lost me.
3. Yeah,
Although I
give me 3.
love number 7, please don't tell me 7 things today.
No.
So I just want to echo I actually have a journaling practice on its own that is in my calendar every 12 weeks. This is arbitrary time that I chose for no particular reason. Every 12 weeks, a reminder goes off on my cell phone that says, rewrite your list. And my list is a list of 20 or however many things I have written in present tense as if they were happening now. And so reoccurring things on my list are, I am the mother to a healthy Mateo Lacroix, and I make sure his entire name is in it.
Yes.
I am happily married to Chris Lacroix. So like things that I always want to cultivate. But I am the mother to a healthy baby boy was in that list for 5 fucking years. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that every time I rewrote it every 12 weeks, I'm like, I never doubted it. I'm like, yeah, one day this is going to be my reality. And then there was a day when I had to edit that because I wasn't ready. But now I'm like, now he's a healthy, what do I want for him? So he enjoys good health or whatever. So I love that exercise. It is a point form, but it's written sentences in the present tense of things I love having right now and I want to continue to have, or things I don't have right now, but I'm willing to believe that they are coming. And so I write them in present tense as if they were happening. Just a side note for you guys, not all practices have to be also so formal. Just a simple reminder reminds me, oh, time to rewrite my list. And that's all I do. I know time is running, but one of the reasons Jack is coming to talk to be the CEO of your own life is I focus heavily on rewriting the narrative. And I've quoted Tony Robbins 3 times now, but I was just in a seminar. So it's impossible not to. I heard him say something that I've been saying for a long time, which is rewrite your story and gain your life back. Like when we go back, when we have all been on earth for a while, depending on how old you are, and we all have stories. Like you said, you have a story to tell. And sometimes the story that we're telling ourselves is one of sorrow or victimhood, where we feel like stuck. The common feeling is stuck. I don't know what your role in the story is, but you feel stuck. You can't move past that story. We all have at least one story like that. And it could be the supervisor of my master was a jerk and said I was never going to amount to anything. And I somehow it's been 20 years and I still live that as if it was in my present. Or it could be I was crossing the street and a car hit me. And since then, I'm afraid of crossing the street, right? Like something like this that keeps replaying in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, and I say this having come from or having experienced significant traumas and difficult life events. And this is what I intuitively did on my own. And so I noticed that was such an important part of my own healing and how today I am sound and I speak and I can tell my story without breaking and without feeling held back. In fact, I believe everything that's happened to me has moved me forward in life. It's exactly what needed to happen for me to gain like that new understanding and then like, oh, okay, I get it. I almost picture my life like a Mario Bros. Nintendo game where like if you pass the dragon you're on to the next level and it's more fun and you have more rewards. That's how it feels like. Okay, I learned the lesson, now what's next? So for me, the rewriting of the story is all about gaining awareness of the gift. Why was that in your life?
Yep.
And I truly enjoy rewriting the story, at least in my own head, if I'm not using pen and paper, of like, oh, that needed to happen. Like my 5 years of infertility, I explain them in my own head as I needed to go through 5 years to learn to unconditional love myself. And I would coin that gift to infertility. That was the gift of infertility for me. Would I change it? Absolutely not. I even think it's made me a better mom. I appreciate everything. The tantrums and the happy days, like they all feel like fulfilling to me. So the rewriting of the story is utilizing, I think, the awareness that we've been speaking about. And like, I think a practice like morning pages could be so helpful to help you realize where you're telling the story that feels repetitive, where are those patterns, where is it not serving you? And it gives you this creative writer of your own life power, where you can start intentionally thinking, how would I wish to remember that? Is the way I'm remembering holding me back, feeling painful? Then what was the gift? What did I learn? How do I want to rewrite? And that's exactly what Jack is coming to teach my CEOs. But I wanted to leave it here for you to think about that. It started as a conversation of like, this is how she started writing, Jacqueline. I've used writing, and I really want you, the listener, to take this home and think to yourself, so if I was to start a little small practice of writing, how will that eventually lead me to writing my own or rewriting my own life story in a way that feels liberating, empowering, good for me and humanity? And on that note, Jack, I don't know if there's anything you want to tell them about how to begin the rewriting of that story, or if you feel that it's been said.
Great question. I think it's been said, and your practice is so powerful, and that reframe of everything that's happening and looking at it and asking yourself, how is this happening for me? That could be a great starting place, even looking at whatever event is front of mind, or whatever event pops into your mind first. Like if it's coming up for a reason, it's not an accident. Come up and ask, how is this happening for me? What are the lessons? What is this showing me?
Like I remember writing the blog post, The Gifts of Infertility. And my brain was like, are you kidding me? Are we actually going to look at positives in here?
Yeah.
Have you not suffered enough? Like, is this not the right time to say no? This actually all sucks. And I was like, no, man, this will mark me for life no matter what. But I want the mark to be a beauty mark, not an open wound.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, that's been the experience of writing. And I truly enjoy it. Obviously, I think it's one of my brain strong connections. So I enjoy it. I'm good at it. But I'm telling you, the non-writer, This is so powerful. You don't have to publish a book. You don't have to show anybody what you're writing, but you becoming aware of your thoughts through your own writing, it's going to be life-changing. And I believe that from the bottom of my heart.
Yes, totally recommend it.
All right. Anybody who wants to hire you, who wants to join the school, where do they get a hold of you?
theintuitivewritingschool.com.
Awesome. Pretty simple. Also, head over to the show notes. You will find the link straight to her website. Is there anywhere else that they should be following you?
That's the best place because all the links to my favorite social media channels
Are there
too.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Jack, for being here with my audience today and sharing your wisdom and sharing your story. I enjoy listening to your story. I've always gravitated towards the way you operate for a good reason. And so I hope for all of you listening that this was illuminating and helpful. And if you like it, share with somebody else who else needs to hear this episode, and let us know in the comments. You can comment on each episode. You can give us a thumbs up. So that tells me what kind of themes you guys enjoy, and I can bring more of the same. Thank you so much, Jack.
Thank you.
See you guys next Monday. Hey guys, Olga here. I am super excited to be inviting you this spring to do two things with me. First of all, come detox your mind. No matter who you are, how great you are at thinking, it is impossible to always be thinking positively, but we can always think intelligently. And so I'm inviting you for 5 days of cleaning your mind from the weeds that have been growing over the last few months that need to get out so that you can feel light and confident and attached to your purpose. Come to Detox the Mind from April 24th to the 28th. It's 5 days, $97. And you will begin to feel so uplifted and with a much clearer mind. The second invitation is to join me inside Reset Your Mindset, my 12-week coaching program that starts on May 12th, and the registration is now open. Both of these opportunities are on the show notes. Head over there and click on the ones that you want. You can absolutely do both, and you will absolutely see results. All right, talk to you guys soon. Hopefully, I'll see you in there.